Breaking news developments tonight in the investigation of Air India Flight 171, the deadliest aviation disaster in India's history. We now have exclusive details about the cockpit voice recorder, disturbing new findings about the plane's final moments, and heartbreaking updates about the victims. This is a Dark Truth Files special report. At precisely 1:39 p.m. on June 12, 2025, Air India Flight 171, a Boeing 787 Dreamliner carrying 231 passengers and 10 crew members, began what should have been a routine takeoff from Ahmedabad's Sardar Vallabhbhai Patel International Airport. But what happened next would shock aviation experts worldwide. According to newly released ATC transcripts, the first sign of trouble came exactly 37 seconds after takeoff. The pilot's last transmission was a fragmented Mayday call, AI 171 emergency, we have, before cutting off abruptly. Radar data shows the aircraft reached just 680 feet when it suddenly pitched downward at a terrifying 45-degree angle. Eyewitness accounts from ground personnel describe hearing what sounded like metal tearing apart before the fully fueled aircraft impacted the Dr. Kiran C. Patel Medical College hostel at approximately 380 miles per hour. The collision and subsequent fuel explosion created a fireball that reached temperatures exceeding 1,000 degrees Celsius, hot enough to melt aluminum. The human toll was catastrophic. All 241 souls on board perished instantly. On the ground, 19 medical students and staff members were killed in the hostile impact zone. Rescue teams would later describe the scene as the most challenging recovery operation in Gujarat's history, requiring weeks of DNA analysis to identify all 260 victims. Amidst this unimaginable tragedy came one miraculous survival story. British national Vishwash Kumar Ramesh, seated in row 11 near an emergency exit, was somehow ejected from the aircraft upon impact. First responders found him conscious but severely injured approximately 50 meters from the main wreckage. In his first public statement from the hospital, Ramesh recalled, "There was a loud bang, then the cabin filled with smoke. The next thing I knew, I was outside in the grass. I could hear screams and see fire everywhere." Tragically, Ramesh's brother, who was traveling with him, did not survive. Now to the critical forensic findings that have aviation experts deeply concerned. The flight data recorder reveals 3 alarming anomalies in the final 15 seconds. A sudden, uncommanded activation of the ram air turbine, an emergency system that only deploys when both engines and all electrical systems fail. Multiple conflicting commands being sent to the elevator control system simultaneously, what engineers call a control surface conflict. The autopilot attempting to correct the dive but being overridden by another system. Boeing has confirmed this particular Dreamliner, registration VT-ANF, had undergone all scheduled maintenance, including a full inspection just 42 days before the crash. However, maintenance logs show the right engine was replaced in March 2025 following unusual vibration readings. Aviation safety consultant Captain Alan Carter explains, "What we're seeing suggests either a catastrophic software failure in the flight control computers or a physical jam in the control system. Either scenario would explain why the pilot's inputs appear to have been ignored in those final seconds." The aftermath operation has been unprecedented in scale. Over 500 emergency personnel worked around the clock in shifts to recover remains. Forensic teams used a combination of dental records, DNA analysis, and personal effects to identify victims, a process that took nearly 2 weeks to complete. Particularly heartbreaking was the recovery of 19 victims on the ground, all promising young medical students and staff. Among them was 24-year-old Priya Mehta, just months away from graduating as a doctor. Her father, in a tearful press conference, said, "She dreamed of serving in rural clinics. Now that dream is gone." Air India and parent company Tata Group have faced immense scrutiny in the wake of the disaster. Their response included immediate grounding of their entire Dreamliner fleet for emergency inspections, $120,000 compensation payments to each victim's family, psychological support teams for first responders and affected families. However, critics argue more should be done. Aviation analyst Rishi Kapoor notes, "This isn't just about one airline. If this investigation reveals systemic issues with the 787's flight control systems, it could ground Dreamliners worldwide." As we prepare to conclude this difficult report, we must remember that behind the technical details and investigation updates are real human lives cut tragically short. Tonight, we honor some of those souls. First, we pay tribute to Captain Rajiv Sharma, 54, a decorated pilot with 11,700 flight hours spanning his 28-year career with Air India. Colleagues describe him as the most meticulous aviator in the fleet, who famously averted a potential disaster in 2019 when his quick thinking saved a Mumbai-Delhi flight from severe turbulence injuries. He leaves behind a wife and 2 university-aged children. Among the passengers was the entire Kapoor family, Sandeep, Priya, and their 8-year-old twins Arjun and Maya, relocating to London where Sandeep had secured an engineering position at Rolls-Royce. Their packed suitcases contained not just clothes, but cricket bats and ballet shoes, symbols of the new life they would never experience. The flight also carried a group of 6 Spanish medical volunteers returning from a charity mission in Rajasthan. Team leader Dr. Elena Morales, 39, had just posted a final photo with the caption, "Mission accomplished, see you at home." That homecoming never came. In the hostel below, 22-year-old nursing student Ayesha Khan was video calling her mother when the plane struck. Her phone was later recovered in the rubble, still connected, the final image showing her startled turn toward the window. These stories represent just a fraction of the 260 lives lost, each with unfinished dreams, each leaving behind devastated families across 3 continents. The youngest victim was 6 months old, the oldest 82nd. Medical professionals, students, grandparents, newlyweds, and entire families, their collective potential erased in seconds. As the sun sets over the memorial erected at the crash site bearing all 260 names, we're reminded of aviation's solemn truth. Every safety regulation is written in blood. While the investigation continues, we at Dark Truth Files join the global community in mourning. To the families watching, your loved ones mattered. Their stories won't be forgotten. We'll continue following this investigation with the dignity they deserve. Please subscribe for updates delivered with respect and accuracy. For now, from all of us, may they all rest in peace.